So today we're going to be talking with a good friend of mine about the 9 worst mistakes divorcing couples make in regards to their finances. But before we get started, let me start by saying, look, we understand that going through a divorce is a very trying time for a lot of people, and that we are here as a source of information, or as one source of information, to help guide you through this process, at least on your financial standpoint. And if you have any questions when we're done, please feel free to contact our team. And we're also going to be giving you some additional resources here at the end of today's call.
Right. And this is not meant to be professional or legal advice or to replace any legal help. So you really should seek out professional counsel.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that. Now, Tam, is that one of the 9 mistakes that people make, not working with a professional?
Well, it's not one of my quote 9, but only because I think that should be a given. Divorce can be very, very complicated. And in a huge majority of cases, you really need professional help.
Okay, well, let's just run down your list here. What is mistake number 1?
Well, this kind of ties in with what we just talked about regarding having an attorney. The number one mistake people make is not being prepared for the meetings that they're having with their attorney or another financial advisor. In order for them to help you and to get the best settlement possible for you, they have to have a full picture. And not providing the necessary financial documents that you need or trying to hide things from them is only going to make the proceedings go a long, long way, and it wastes their time and your money. So be as organized as possible so that they don't have to dig for information.
Well, that sounds easy enough.
Well, you'd think so, but it's a really emotional time, and sometimes we just don't think straight when we're upset.
Okay, so mistake number 1, not being prepared when you have your meetings with your professional people. So what's another mistake?
Well, another one is not establishing your own credit. You really need to start building your own credit so that you can begin living on your own. As soon as you can, separate as many as your unsecured accounts as you can. These are like your credit cards.
Okay.
And if this can be done without closing the accounts, it'd be a whole lot better for you because you've established a long credit history and you wouldn't lose it. So divvy up things and remove your name from some accounts and your spouse from some other accounts, and try and keep the balances and the interest rates kind of even so that no one gets gypped.
Okay, that makes sense. And keep in mind that even if your divorce decree says that you aren't responsible for a bill, well, in the eyes of the credit card company, you're still both responsible as long as both of your names are on the account. So it's not what the divorce decree says in this point, it's what's on whose names are on the account of, say, like the credit card company. Now, if your spouse doesn't make the payment, it can really be devastating to your own credit. I mean, one late payment, and this is assuming that if you didn't take your name off the credit card, again, even if it's on the divorce decree, one late payment can lower your credit score by like 50, 75 points.
That is so true. And a lot of people think because your divorce decree says that it's automatically been taken care of, but that's not so. The decree just mandates that it needs to be done, but you have to physically add or remove yourself from that credit card.
Okay, real good. Now, for those of you on the call, I just want to remind you that you can call our office or shoot us a quick email, and we'll send you a copy of this recording as we're going through this today. So, Tammy, this kind of leads us into our next mistake, not knowing what you own or what you owe.
That's right. This is really common because in most instances, one person in the marriage has been responsible for keeping track of the finances. So you're going to need to get a lot of information. You're going to make copies of all your financial important documents.
You mean like wills and bank accounts, stock portfolio, retirement accounts, real estate, title to vehicles, life insurance, money even, I guess, owed to you.
Exactly. And also, make copies of documents that kind of reflect your marital lifestyle. So if you're used to going on trips, if you're used to driving a nice car, make copies of all that stuff. Your checking statements, your credit card statements, your tax returns, cash receipts that you spend. You may need to get a restraining order if you think your spouse may be trying to liquidate some of your accounts. So ask your attorney if you think you might need to do this.
Right, because not only does the court help you divide up what you own together, but also what you owe together. Not just what you own, but what you owe together.
Right. It's not fair for one person to get all of the stuff and get stuck with all of the
The other person
payments, too.
get all the payments. I got you. Okay.
Right. So have copies of your mortgage statements, your car payments, school loans, home improvement loans, credit card bills. And you may have loans out there that you owe to friends or to relatives. There may be business loans or medical bills. And just like your credit cards, make sure that you check the interest rates on those so that you don't get stuck paying the higher bills with the higher rates.
Well, I hadn't really thought about that. I mean, there's a lot to this, isn't there?
Yeah, and most of the time, mistakes are made just because people aren't aware.
Now, is there someone besides your attorney that helps you with this?
Well, yeah, there is. And that leads us to another mistake. People only see their attorney, but they don't seek their financial advisor or their tax planner's advice.
Well, what would those people do?
Well, they can tell you what the difference between investments are. All investments are not created equal. A $10,000 CD is not the same as a $10,000 stock or a $10,000 401k or even $10,000 of equity in your home. There can be some huge tax consequences involved with some of your investments, and it would really reduce what you got in the end if there were penalties on top of that or tax laws that you weren't aware of.
Okay, so like with a house, you have to pay maintenance and taxes, insurance, and upkeep. And with a retirement fund, you have none of that, just straight growth. Is that what you're talking about?
Exactly. So you just need to ask. I mean, it's okay if one or the other happens as long as you're aware of what's happening. You also have to know what the laws are about alimony and child support because one of them you pay taxes on and one of them you don't. You need to know what the laws are about retirement funds and real estate property and capital gains. And a tax advisor or a financial advisor can help you to see if there's going to be any penalties, especially when you're dividing up your retirement stuff.
Yes, you don't want to think you have a certain amount of money coming to you only to find out you have a huge tax bill or a penalty. I mean, that could be really devastating if you're counting on that money to live on.
Right, which kind of leads us right into our next mistake. Not having an accurate budget or not planning for your future. You need to review all your credit card statements, your utility bills, the mortgage statements, checking account, grocery bills, car payments, cash withdrawals, and other financial documents so that you have an accurate picture of what your budget's going to look like.
And you probably need to take into consideration future expenses too, like inflation or rising medical and insurance costs, loan payment increases due to increased interest rates if you have a sliding scale on your house, or increased child care, increased real estate taxes. A lot to consider here.
That's right. And you know, at some point your car's going to need to be replaced or your home's going to need to have a little bit of updating. Your child may be getting ready to go off to college. All of these things matter. So it's very critical that you understand what's happening today as well as what's going to happen in the future.
So what's the best way that someone can make sure that they can pay for these things as they happen besides having income of sorts?
Well, that's kind of a complicated one, but most likely when a new expense is going to come up, you're going to have to finance it because most people can't just go out and buy a new car or buy a new house or just outright pay for college. So financing, when you do that, it requires good credit. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Today more than ever.
Yes. So not getting a copy of your credit report from the 3 bureaus like Experian, Equifax, TransUnion, well, that's another mistake that people make. So it's impossible to formulate a financial plan without having a complete picture or a complete understanding of what the situation is.
True, because there may be charges, inquiries, or late payments on your credit report that you might not be aware of. You don't want to wait until you're applying for a loan that you need, and then all of a sudden you're surprised by something. Also, if you need to get help getting a copy of your credit report, we have sources to help you do that. Just let our team know, and we'll let you know how to get one. So again, our phone number and email address is right here at the bottom of the screen. Just contact us, and we'll help you out so you can have a copy of your credit report. And you can also see, a lot of people may not know this, if your spouse has been pulling out new loans or just having applications for new things, and your name's included in with it, that inquiry would show at the bottom of your report. So every time somebody pulls a credit, it'll be stamped on your credit report so you can see if somebody's doing something that you may not know about.
And you know, we still have a few more mistakes to go, but I think this one is just a biggie. And that's taking your name off of a title before your name's been taken off of the loan. So unless your name's been taken off of something, don't take your name off title because it takes you out of ownership for that. So this goes for all of your real estate properties. It also goes for your cars. And people don't think about this, but boats, motorcycles, other vehicles that you have. So leave your name on the title until your name is off the loan for it.
Right, because you don't want to end up financially responsible for something that you don't even own. So check with our team to find out what your options are if you need help removing your name. And again, the credit report will show all the loans out. So let's say if there's a boat loan on there, you want to make sure that your name is left on the title until your spouse moves that over to their name or into yours or whichever way is doing. So that's a good point.
Right, and don't sign something like a quitclaim deed or anything that's like that until you've checked with your attorney and your financial advisor.
Don't sign anything until you check with your attorney and your financial
Right.
planner. Yeah, that's good advice. Now, what if your name is on there and something happens to your spouse and you get stuck with a payment?
That's a great question too, Carl. That kind of leads us to another huge mistake, not insuring the divorce settlement. The premature death or the disability of the supporting spouse can really devastate a family. You'll lose the child support, alimony, college tuition, other property settlements. So there's life insurance and there's disability insurance that you can get that will ensure that you get the payments that you had set up for and planned for, like we talked about earlier with your budget and planning for the future. You need to include this in the negotiations.
Well, you could also probably make it so they have to pay it and you're the beneficiary. So in other words, so like let's say my wife, who I'm getting ready to divorce, is the main breadwinner, and she owes me alimony, then I would have an insurance policy that she would have to pay for, that if something happened to her, it would ensure those benefits keep coming to me.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of different ways that this can be structured. So you need to speak with your attorney or tax advisor about this as well, because there are cases where they own the policy, but you're the beneficiary. But there's also cases where you own the policy and you're the beneficiary, but they're paying for it.
Kind of the best of all worlds, I guess, in that case.
Absolutely.
Well, it looks like we're close to wrapping things up. Is there anything else you want to add at this point, Tammy?
Well, there's one more thing, and I think this is the very biggest mistake anyone can make, and that's letting your emotions start to rule. And I'm not trying to be that light with that, but having an emotional attachment to your house or belongings will really keep you from thinking clearly and making wise decisions and rational decisions. It may not be in your best interest to keep your house, even if you designed it, built it, furnished it, raised your kids there, and you thought you would die in it. So be realistic about what you can afford and what you can't afford. And although you may love your home, you may not be able to pay for it once you're alone.
And that's a good point. And spending $500 on your attorney to fight over like a $50 lamp is a huge waste of money and time, not to mention the emotional expense of something like that.
Right. Now, if you've gotten to the place where you feel like a divorce is necessary, just do what you have to do to get a fair and equitable settlement and just move on.
Well, this has been very enlightening for us, Tammy. I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us.
And I appreciate you having me. Having been through this myself, I'm always looking for an opportunity to just give back and to help. So keep in mind that what we said at the very beginning of this, that this was not meant to be legal advice or professional advice, and that we didn't intend any of the information that we shared here to be construed as such.
So it's like if you're sick, you go to the doctor. If you have a toothache, you go to the dentist.
And if you need divorce advice, you go to a divorce attorney.
Yeah, absolutely. And which none of us on today's call is an attorney at all.
Right.
So we're just providing good information. So we appreciate that. Well, that's it for today. We appreciate you taking time to join us. And, and again, like we said at the beginning of the call, to get a copy of what we covered here. And we also have some other free resources for you to help you with going through your divorce. And also, if you need to get hooked up with a good attorney and need some recommendations, we can point you in that direction also. And so there's the phone number here at the bottom of the screen. You might have to scroll down. You should have our phone number, and you have our email address right there. Maybe a website, I think, is in the bottom as you're looking at your screen also. And give us a call, and we'll send you a copy of what we just went over, a written report of what we just went over, and some other things to guide you through this, what can be a very difficult time. And our job over here is just to help you making rational decisions and just guide this so while you're going through an emotionally hard time, to keep it from not going through a financially hard time any more than necessary.
Right.
So remember, if you need any help with buying, selling, or refinancing your home, that's what we do over here also. So give our team a call. We look forward to hearing from you, and we'll talk to you when you call in.